Tales of the Jedi is probably one of the best Disney Star Wars has to offer the fandom as of late. It's been a long while since I've actually rewatched a Star Wars project multiple times within a month. And it's pretty ironic how it premiered during Andor's run on Disney Plus that is also receiving a great amount of success, reflecting a trend that I called out in one of my previous videos worried for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Disney Star Wars has seen success mainly when it comes to animation, and then solely in The Mandalorian when it comes to live action. Both coincidentally are areas where there have been extensive notion to create and develop new characters and stories to enrich the franchise. Even though this is another Star Wars project focusing on the Jedi, what's really remarkable about this miniseries is that it's not cookie cutter and one-dimensional. The focus of the show is not trying to pedestalize the Jedi Order or the light side of the Force, and while many Jedi were present in the show, the focus were just on two, and the special thing about them both is they eventually left the Order, following the life paths of two revered characters in the franchise, in Count Dooku and Ahsoka Tano, to show how the Force itself does not operate in extremes, yet nuanced with complications to balance out the universe. Yo. For the sake of seniority, let's begin with one of the most complex, polarizing, and interesting characters since the prequel trilogy, Dooku. Most people are aware of him by his official name of Count Dooku from episodes 2 and 3, but more widely known to be fleshed out as a prominent figure in the Clone Wars animated series. One of the main antagonists in Star Wars lore known publicly in this universe as the Separatist leader, but secretly the apprentice to Darth Sidious. His introduction in the show is well thought out. It's a good reflection on his previous introduction in his prequel trilogy films, by making his first appearance in the second episode, showcasing Dooku during his early years as a member of the Jedi Order, specifically during the time that one of the most important Jedi in the series was his apprentice, Qui-gon Jinn, compared to also making his appearance in episode 2 of the prequel films, but in opposition to the Republic and secretly the Sith Lord Darth Tyrannus. Dooku has always done things in an unorthodox way as a Jedi. It's very reflective in his teachings that have been passed on to Qui-Gon, but now visibly made aware to us, the viewers in this miniseries, aside from being told of the kind of person he was in novels and books. While always composed and straightforward when interacting with others, it's likely a mask for the deep-rooted trait that he is forced to withhold in order to operate as a Jedi. Dooku is extremely compassionate when it comes to his personal ideals, the Jedi Order, and especially toward those he has developed an attachment to. The kind of compassion that would lead one to break their composure and act recklessly as a Jedi, but also the kind that would allow a Jedi to act with moral empathy for those in need. Does that sound like anyone familiar? We'll get back to that point in a bit later on this video. The 3 episodes that focus on Dooku detail key moments in his life that progressively clouded his judgment, leading to his eventual turn from the Jedi Order, as given by the titles of each episode to signify Dooku's mindset at the end of each situation. But ironically, they all begin the same way, trying to solve the problem, always composed, and imposing his intentions while straightforwardly interrogating for answers. In the first 2 episodes, his ideals are revealed to us, as he makes his intentions clear to all parties involved by keeping a neutral stance until he feels provoked to impose his will. We first see an instance of this when placing his saber on the table. It's a gesture of potential danger, and to see how the kidnappers will react knowing that Jedi have been sent to quell the matter. In similar fashion in episode 3, as he lights his saber to impose a threat to the Raxus senator after investigating the scene of Jedi Master Kashyyy's death. Scaling up tension is not something one would do as a keeper of the peace, but his methods, while unorthodox, does get the proper results. Learning more on both matters and revealing the systemic corruption of the Senate and how it negatively affects the people it's meant to serve. We begin to truly understand Dooku's perspective when encountering Senator Dagonet. The senator believes that the Jedi serve the Senate, and Dooku immediately had to correct him by stating they serve the people of the Republic. This is the same sentiment one of the soldiers accompanying Senator Lark echoed before meeting his end.
You and all of the Senate puppets will see a reckoning!
Calling the Jedi puppets of the Senate. On one end, Senator Dagonet reveals his oppressive nature willingly, while Senator Lark masks his corrupted ways by feigning innocence. Dooku proceeds to take matters into his own hands and does as he believes, whether it's protecting the people and enacting justice by attempting to eliminate the problem at its source, or making the choice to not follow protocol and get to the bottom of the truth. In both instances, if it were not for the presence of Qui-Gon and Mace, both senators and Araxis resistance would have been eliminated by Dooku. We see how clouded his judgment becomes when blinded by emotion and anger to do what he believes to be the right thing. By the fourth episode, it's evident over the years blatant corruption of the Senate and the Jedi's complacency to their politics have swayed him to take extreme measures. Presuming that the second episode is the experience that made him aware, up until episode 3 that years or possibly decades may have passed since then, evidenced by his beard growth and how he approaches political dilemmas, likely having witnessed repetitive instances of corruption and willful ignorance. Leading up to the events of Phantom Menace, where we learned that it was Dooku who deleted the archive information of Kamino while impersonating Sifo Dyas exactly 10 years before episode 2. Showcasing that the culmination of events during the third episode has pushed him to make the final choice of taking alternative methods of justice. And here we see that he has been deeply working with Sidious, commencing the creation of the clone army. Learning news of Qui-Gon coming into contact with Maul, he approaches his former apprentice accompanied by Master Yaddle with concern, questioning him about his interaction with the Council, knowing that they would not do anything to eliminate the looming threat. When the Council's hesitation resulted in the death of Qui-Gon, the emotional toll has now fueled his inner conflict on the decisions he's made recently. Still opposed to the Jedi Council, but now also questioning the motive of his new alliance with Sidious because of his attachment to Qui-Gon. Any other time, if Yaddle had offered the avenue of redemption, he may have decided to correct his wrongs, similar to how Qui-Gon stopped him from going too far, and Mace reminding him of his position to the Republic as a Jedi. Unfortunately, this time with Sidious present, it gives way for inner conflict to tug and pull at his emotions and sense of duty. The mental manipulation by the Sith Lord counters Yaddle's words of redemption by twisting his ideals, to sway his thought process into thinking that his actions have pulled him in too deep and he must see things through. While the last bit of light shines upon him, potentially repelling Sidious through the presence of Yaddle, the corridor metaphorically represents Dooku's mental barrier. How Yaddle was the last bit of hope for him to rise up out of his doubt, returning to the light, but her strength in the Force was not enough to oppose Sidious's grip on Dooku's mind. Thus, when the corridor shuts and Yaddle's strength has been expended, it represents how far into the dark side his mind was swayed. Thus, Yaddle's death cements the final milestone to enact the birth of Darth Tyrannus. Seeing the timeline of Dooku's transition from proud Jedi to a pawn of the Sith is fantastic storytelling by Dave Filoni. Through him, we as the viewer are exposed to the true nature of this universe and its reflection on ours. That the light and the dark are both extremes, and neither represents the correct way to go about wielding the Force. They are both two equal parts of the whole. That within the light there exists some darkness, and within the darkness exists some light. Even though he is considered to have fallen to the dark side, Dooku and his philosophy in eradicating corruption of politics and exposing how it has blinded the Jedi Order from serving the people of the Republic is morally right. There is merit to that when it comes to creating peace and order, but it's his methods on getting it done that we would consider as wrong. Murder, manipulation, and conspiracy are wrong, but it depends on the standards of the society and or certain belief systems. The Jedi keeping a neutral stance when it comes to political affairs and not being react to particular instances without more detail is technically the right way to go. This allows them to not be considered agitators or instigators to all parties. Yet, being devoid of compassion can lead to turning a blind eye to blatant corruption and morally wrong acts like slavery and trafficking. It shows the hypocrisy of your creed, especially when advertising yourselves as keepers of the peace. Therefore, no one is wrong in this struggle. Yeah, even Dooku, because like everyone else who inhabits this world is acting according to the will of the Force. Even though Darth Plagueis is essentially responsible for the creation of Anakin Skywalker, Dooku, you can say, is the inception of the prophecy to bring balance to the Force. His journey into becoming Tyrannus is the predecessor to Anakin becoming Vader because they mirror one another. Through the will of the Force, Anakin is his student by proxy because without Dooku's teachings, there is no Qui-Gon Jinn, and without Qui-Gon Jinn, there is no Obi-Wan Kenobi and no discovery of Anakin. And then keep going from there. There is no defiance of the council to train Anakin at Qui-Gon's will by Obi-Wan. And finally, there is no fallen Jedi turned Vader that helps his son destroy the Sith in episode 6. This is why Dooku is the inception of it all, and Tales of the Jedi paints this picture for us so well. I'm going to stop this video here and continue my dissection of this series in a part 2, focusing on the second focal point of the show, which is Ahsoka. I want to take the time to dive a bit deeper on her arc and see what kind of message Dave Filoni wanted to tell in this miniseries. Make sure to look out for that video in the coming weeks. And also, please let me know your thoughts on Dooku's arc, your thoughts on Tales of the Jedi in general, and do you presume there's going to be a second season? Let me know all that in the comment section below. If you found this video to your liking, don't hesitate to give your boy a thumbs up and check out any other Star Wars content on the channel after subscribing and clicking that notification bell. I hope to see you all return for the Ahsoka analysis coming soon, and as always, you know the vibes. It's Kaizoku Sleven. Appreciate you.